the marvellous horns of the Feijoada Orchestra of Portugal there, heralding the arrival of the Good Morning Portugal live stream this morning with me, Carl Munson, from expatsportugal.com. How are you this morning? I'm a little slow moving this morning, I have to say. I'm operating at about 90% this morning. How about you? How would you rate yourself this morning in percentage terms? The doc's going to be here, though, to help me, which is great. A little bit later on, maybe before the 9 o'clock threshold, maybe after. So if you've got any medical inquiries, he's the man to ask. And of course, he's Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday, Hump Day here, where there's no need to get the hump because any questions or inquiries, concerns, anxieties you have about life here in Portugal can be answered. Well, we'll do our best. Between me and the doc, Andy Thompson, we'll do our best to answer any of those. So pop your questions in the chat. Hashtag AAAP. Ask Anything About Portugal helps us to identify those. We'll have a look at the news and the weather, of course, before his arrival. But you know what he's like. He likes to keep an eye, especially from a political point of view, on what's going on in the news. And pretty much any political views welcome here, as long as they are presented respectfully and lawfully. And in fact, this is a poignant moment, I should say, and quite a good idea right now to share with you a picture from Lisa, because Pearl Harbor, the anniversary thereof, memorial of Pearl Harbor was mentioned yesterday, the attack on Pearl Harbor. And Lisa sent me a picture with rather a poignant message with it that I think needs to be shared in the lest we forget spirit, really. And this is a picture that she sent in. She visited the Memorial Museum, I believe, is what I'm about to show you, which hasn't shown up for some reason. Let me find that. I will do that for you. What she says is, went to Hawaii in September and visited the Pearl Harbor Memorial. Today is a day for remembering, as my uncle was there on this tragic day, and he survived. He was a naval mechanic. Shortly after, my father was sent to Germany, and another uncle to the Pacific, and all survived during this time of war, thankfully. Many didn't, though, she says. Will we ever agree to disagree without bloodshed? Good question, Lisa. And you might wonder what on earth that has anything to do with Portugal, but it's a human sentiment there, but brilliantly expressed at that poignant moment as that awful event is remembered. Not that we have any shortage of awful events as humans, right? To remember and ask that question that she's asking. Can we agree to disagree without bloodshed? Maybe we're in training and learning how to do that now. Here is the picture that she sent me on her visit to Hawaii and the Pearl Harbor Memorial Museum there. Okay, your comments and your hellos and your light up Christmas sentiments. I mean, we do it all here, don't we? We do poignant and we go to the difficult and dark sides of humanity occasionally. And of course, we celebrate all that is great and good about life and human beings and life specifically here in Portugal. So keep sending in those fabulous. This is an interesting video that was sent in. Michael and Catherine have been, what do they say? Catherine and I, says Michael, are spending the penultimate night in Portugal up on Castelo de Marvão. Marvão, one of the high points, literally, and actually, of Portugal. It's really amazing, but this short video is the south gate of Castelo de Vide tonight. And that's where Jerry and I had a similar moment. Jerry, of course, from Expats Portugal. Oh, what fun. Not the steepest and narrowest wet calçadas. Oh, yeah, driving on wet calçadas. Wait till you see this. But what an amazing, real working city. Castelo de Vide is fantastic. I've got Astrid to thank for that because she has a home over that way and we visited her there. And I really fell in love with Castelo de Vide. Do you remember? I wanted to move there at that time as well. Oh, what fun. Not the steepest and narrowest wet calçadas we came across. What an amazing, real working city. We'll be on the road during the broadcast mañana, that's today, and on the plane at 5 a.m. on Friday. We live in Washington, so we have to watch recorded shows at 12:30 a.m. Oh, my goodness, what a sterling effort. That's definitely past bedtime, but thanks for all the great info we've gotten and to all the friends of Expats Portugal. So a message from Michael and Catherine to all of you. Anyway, just wanted to say, até mais tarde for now. Now it's home to 20 centimeters of fresh white stuff. So let me just play that vid for you. And I want to make sure you can hear okay. I think, no one's been sending me WhatsApp messages or put anything in the chat. I love that starting music. Good morning. I wonder how long it would take until people would like the music, because we don't like change, generally speaking, do we? And there it is, a bit of change in the music, which I think, well, I think it's safe to say people are taking to quite well. I like it. I find it rousing in the morning, and who doesn't like to be roused in the morning? Talking of rousing in the morning, Andy the Doc is just limbering up in the green room, and we'll bring him on to talk through the news and the weather after we've played this video. Catherine and Michael then navigating the wet streets of Castelo de Vido on the South Gate. Check this out. Well done, that driver. Was that Michael or Catherine? I wonder who was in the cockpit there steering through. And you can see on the marks on the walls, can't you? That's always a bit scary when you're navigating a little street like that. And you look at the walls, you think, oh, a few other people have scraped these. Steady now. But most cars these days, if you've got a nice modern car or a hire car there of the latest specification, it screams at you, doesn't it, as you go down a street like that? Bleepers going off on every part of the car telling you you're near a wall. And you can actually see that you're quite near a wall, can't you, at that point? And he rode up, Andy the Doc. There's no point hanging about. Let's bring him on and look at the news and the weather. Hey up, mate. How are you?
Hola, bom dia, Carl. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Excellent.
Enjoying the absence of the school run for once on a weekday morning.
Okay, so the term's not over yet, though, is it? It's just you're relieved of that duty.
Oh yeah, no, it's just that it's because it's the feast of the whatever it is, conception.
Another holiday. Fantastic.
Yeah, the school's off here today, so.
Well, who doesn't? Again, I mean, a bit like a rousing start in the morning. Who doesn't like a feast of conception?
Absolutely.
Yes. Although perhaps we are cross purposes of what that might mean. And we're in need of an expert here to explain to us in our giggling ignorance here what the Feast of Conception might be. Sounds like a great idea, a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, I think if I've got it right, if it is this Feast of Conception, then it's to do with obviously the conception of Jesus Christ. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's what that would be our guest, wouldn't it? Okay, Thunder's here. Bon dia, alegria. I mean, we would genuinely would like to know technically how the festivity takes place, and obviously the obvious is that it is the conception of the dear Lord. And the Feed Chess Championship update. Nepo blundered yesterday. Are you keeping up with the chess championships, Doc? Is this something?
Oh no, I'm not. No. But I've just got the holiday page up. Yes, it's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. So actually, it's the Immaculate Conception, as I understand it, is actually celebrating the Catholic theoretical idea that Mary was conceived without original sin, because otherwise, of course, she wouldn't have been without sin. So that I understand is the background to the Feast of the Immaculate Conception.
Okay, and the feasting part, presumably there must be a form to that as well. So anybody who goes through that festivity to the letter, let us know how it goes, if you will, please. Thank you for that, Doc. And yes, the feed. What does feed stand for, Thunder? Nepo blundered yesterday on move 27. Giving the win to Carlson, who now leads by 3 games. Things getting exciting in the World Chess Championships. Nepo will need to win 4 of the remaining 5 games to even have a chance. So the pressure is against him. I've got you down as a chess player. Would I be right?
I used to play a lot of chess, especially with my father, and when I was at school. And I was fairly good, but I haven't played for not seriously for a very long time.
Okay.
So I think I'd probably be out in straight sets or straight games or whatever you call it these days.
of the World Championships. Yeah, fair enough. You're forgiven. A very talented and able fellow in all sorts of ways, but perhaps not championship material on the chess, not without some practice anyway. Bon dia alegria from Owen as well. Let's say hello to all our pals this morning. Deagle's here with the weather report for us. Dark, wet and windy Belfast over there. And Carl, 15 minutes yesterday as part of Light Up Christmas. Do Portuguese people use real or artificial Christmas trees? That's a really good question, which we will keep hanging there. We put the artificial one up that we have yesterday. And I think we bought it here, though. So that's some clue. that the artificial trees are alive and well. I was going to say, but not clearly not. Have you put anything up yet, Doc?
Our lights, well, we haven't put them up because they were up all year. We have very fine wired lights around the balcony, which we don't bother to take down because they don't really get in the way. We just plug them in on the 1st of December and unplug them on the 6th of January. Yeah, in terms of trees, there's a road. The road from Leiria to Pattaya has quite a lot of garden centres on it, and we went in search of Christmas trees, real trees, last year, and got a very nice one. And there are a number of real trees around already in the public area of Leiria, in the centre. But I think looking at most going by what's obvious in terms of shops, there's a lot of sale of artificial trees, and I think that's probably the artificial trees win it, I think.
They do, don't they? I mean, this is the world we're in, isn't it? The world of convenience and ease. And so obviously the artificial trees win in that way. But there may be traditionalists here who wish to speak of the best kind of real Christmas tree here in Portugal. That's what it's all about today. Ask anything about Portugal. We've done our best so far on that, Deagle. Bom dia, Gampers! It's a Feliz Carta a todos. Estuda 15 minutos ontem e 10 minutos até agora hoje. So you can set your clock by James's Portuguese practice there. A man of habit and making some progress as well. We might hear from his study book as well, his textbook that he uses, which is La Quinta, aimed at Portuguese 3-year-olds. Nothing wrong with that. Bom dia para vocês, Imaculadas Concepções. Thank you very much. Eusebio making the point about the holiday today in Portugal for fertility clinic staff. Stop it, you two. I'm sensing a very cynical tone from you both. I'm into miracles myself, so I won't have too much of that cynicism. Thank you. That's another part of this modern age: the convenience, the ease, and the cynicism. So,
well, no, the cynicism comes from the fact that the Immaculate Conception of Mary was never in the, if you want to call them, the original sources. So if you take the Gospels as original sources, the Immaculate Conception has absolutely zero mention. But it was established by the Church a few hundred years later when they decided that it was absolutely impossible that God would have chosen a woman who had any sin in her in order to be the vessel to carry Christ until his birth, and therefore Mary must have been the product of Immaculate Conception. So it was a theoretical miracle, as far as theoretical can be applied to miracles. I have no problem with supernatural occurrences, or at least unexplained hitherto occurrences, as the scientists would say. But the Immaculate Conception was just a political thing, really.
Well, thank you for unpacking that. It's very interesting because I retract my comment about cynicism there. I thought you were going to say until now hasn't been scientifically verified, the Immaculate Conception. But thank you as well, Doc, for being open to the supernatural and the otherworldly, and the obvious the contradiction, irony there of a verifiable miracle. They don't seem to work like that. But in a funny way as well, all of us, I think, have experienced some sort of miraculous, inexplicable thing, which provides the mystery of life, doesn't it? Which whether you're an atheistic, agnostic, or devout or spiritual person, isn't it lovely to have those moments that give us so much wonder, and maybe even reason to carry on at times? Of course, grace by whatever religious measure you might have. I think most of us have experienced that in life. I
think the biggest miracle that I've thought about today is how I, like whoever it was sent that video in, managed to drive through some of these streets without losing our wing mirrors and even our wings. on our cars.
There's the thing, because there is that one, isn't there? The narrow streets, but there's also the narrow opening afforded you by a HGV coming the other way. Sometimes where a road narrows because of a bridge. And I've had one of these miracles myself, where I'm sure I've looked at the space. I thought, as I've looked at it in the rear view mirror, I've thought to myself, my car isn't that wide. Something happened beyond the normal conventions of time and space to allow me through there. Then someone is looking out for me.
Am I in the Matrix?
Yeah. It's always a good question, particularly at these times, Doc. Bon dia, Toros from Jim. Hello, Jim. Good morning to you. And Suze is here. Many thanks for the tip on battery chargers. Oh, a lot of talk yesterday about these heaters that keep engines warm in cold climates. Never had to have one of those. I walked downtown yesterday in the frigid cold, bought one and took a taxi home. My little van is charging now. So that's great. Who knew that a Californian would be able to help somebody living in Finland with such a matter? We love these from the prof. We've got a prof and a doc among us this morning. Make the most of it, everybody. Today in Portuguese history, 1720, Royal Academy of Portuguese History. The Academia Real de Historia Portuguesa is created by a decree issued by Dom João V with the motto Restituit Omnia. And I do want to say that like a priest for some reason. Restituit omnia. What does it mean, Prof? And located in the palace of the Dukes of Braganza, its membership consisted of 50 academics. There's trouble. Who were given the task of writing the ecclesiastical, military, and civil history of the realm. It is seen as part of the Portuguese Enlightenment movement. Fabulous. And seeks to replace the church as the keeper of history. Its successor can be visited in Lisbon today. So that's interesting. There's a theme developing here, isn't there, in this interplay between the academics and the religious. Is that what the Age of Enlightenment is about? Is it sort of wrestling things to and from between the scientific and religious communities, Doc?
I think the Age of Enlightenment kind of dragged the location of the what do you call it, the guardianship of knowledge from the church into the universities, and brought about the Age of Reason, if you like. Yeah.
And now look. Okay. And the other question is, did you expect to be talking about the Age of Enlightenment here and ask anything about Portugal Wednesday?
No. In a word.
We never do we? Anna Olsen, Bon dia Alegria. Beautiful pictures from you. Oh, my goodness. We'll show those later on, Anna. And James Holly to Suze Denada. I'm happy you found a solution. The community helping each other. It's so good. Love to see that. And the report the day after is fantastic. Hola, bon dia, kids from Victoria Benson, who sent us that lovely land train Christmassy video yesterday morning, Victoria. Bon dia Alegria a todos. Happy Hump Day. 25 minutes hoje. Very good. Well done. With your 25.
Happy Hump Day brings a new meaning to the Feast of the Conception. Yeah.
It's a very rare occurrence that they line up in this way and causing more people to celebrate, I hope, in however they wish to interpret it. Jack Polly, bon dia todos. I love that starting music. Yeah, I'm going to put that up again. I like it as well. But still, nobody's saying, oh, yeah, that's Porto, that's Lisbon, that's Cascais. Come on, there's some clues there for you. Quinta Esencial. That sounds like a good place to go. Hello and good day to all. Good morning to you. How's it going down at the Quinta there this morning? Lovely to hear from you. And Chris is here. Hola, bon dia. Faja, the jazz funk do dia in response to political activity in the UK. What? This is news coming in. I choose the group links with David Grant, You're Lying, with a not very oblique reference there to political life in the UK. I will repeat this when the doc comes on because he will like it. I remember that tune. But I didn't do that, but I didn't do that, but I didn't do that. Oh. What's going on? Politicians lying in the UK? Surely not.
Oh, you know, they're denying Christmas parties took place against the COVID rules in Downing Street last December the 18th, apparently.
But my question for everybody complaining about that, as they rightly would, what are you going to do about it? Nothing is going to happen about that, is it? This is the brazenness now. Don't worry, you got your vote every 5 years, then you can act out your anger. 50%, not a good night for Porto. Oh, so he's not feeling too great this morning either. Is that taking them off the top of the table there, Francis? If I can going back to politicians and their let's call it grasp on reality right now, in such a way that their grasp of reality tends to cause irritation and frustration to those who they would suggest they might lead through these difficult times. Good news, Doc. Actually, we've got the news and the weather to do as well. We might take it in there too, but just briefly, good news, Doc, with the Omicron, because I'm no epidemiologist, as people are used to saying now, but isn't a highly transmissible strain with quite a low, mild symptomatic effect on people a good sign in the evolution of a virus? And might we be going into the easier phase of this pandemic now because of that?
Yeah, it might do us a favour. It depends. It clearly is more highly transmissible, but we don't really have the data yet on the clinical severity. So, if it is less clinically severe and it's more transmissible, then it knocks the more virulent forms or the more nasty forms of COVID out, as it were, and replaces them as the successful virus of its type, then yes, it may well help us enormously. And also the fact that if that is the case, and if it confers any cross immunity in the sort of reverse way to what we want. So at the moment, we want to know that the vaccine might help protect against it, but actually the question, if it is a low severity but highly transmissible virus, the question will be, will infection with it give protection against the other more serious forms of COVID? So there are lots of links and relationships to investigate, and the jury's still out as far as that's concerned. But so far, it appears to be potentially good news. Yeah.
And I don't hear it reported as that, though, I have to say, Doc. I hear it reported as, be afraid, be very afraid, another new variant.
I think there are two reasons for that. One is that having got it totally wrong at the beginning of the pandemic, governments want to be exceptionally cautious. And secondly, actually, some governments are very happy with the degree of control that this pandemic affords them over the hoi polloi. Those of us who actually have to be subjected to COVID restrictions, rather than those who can happily ignore them without fear of prosecution.
Indeed. I'd noticed that as well. I think a few more people are noticing this phenomenon that you speak of, your latter case there. Very interesting times indeed. Okay, the weather then, if we can take all of this in, and we will play, as is the custom, we will play our 9 o'clock music as we move into a more jovial hour perhaps, but maybe not. Maybe we're mixing it up more generally this morning on Hump Day and the Feast of Conception. Lisbon, 14 degrees. We'll have a live weather report from Leiria in just a moment. Lisbon, 14 degrees, the high, 12 the low, currently 13 with a few clouds. That's 57 and 54 in the Fahrenheit there for the New World. Porto, 12 degrees the high, 8 degrees the low, 8 with broken clouds. Coimbra, where Doc used to live. I know you have a fondness for Coimbra. 12 degrees and 9 the low. Rain in all of those places. Oh, no, not in Lisbon, actually. Lisbon is dry currently, but Porto certainly, and Coimbra rainy. And Faro, look, making way for a beautiful sunny week for the rest of the week after some rain today. 16 degree high, 11 degree low. And we're scrolling down. Leiria, would you concur with the report given for your part of the world, Doc? 13 degree high, 11 degree low, and rainy at the moment.
Not raining. The temperature sounds right. It's broken cloud. It's not total cloud. Okay. And the other thing is we're subject to potential major disruption due to a coastal event. And this, of course, refers to the potential fantastically high swell that is likely to produce mega waves at Nazaré, which I hope to go and witness later today.
Oh, so today's the day for this?
Yeah, it was certainly yesterday on the Portuguese news, it was being hailed, if that's the right word, as the big the peak of this current high swell that we're experiencing. And
the surfers then looking on Barra as their friend, rather than every other householder who fears their white plastic garden chairs might be blown across the lawn at this time. Yeah. Okay. So just finishing off on the weather then, we like to go around the rest of the country. Porto Alegre, we looked at Guarda yesterday, which brings us to Porto Alegre. 8 degrees and broken cloud, 10 the high, 6 the low, rainy there in Porto Alegre. And Setúbal is 15 degrees and not raining, but cloudy, scattered clouds, 13 degrees at the moment, 15 degree high, 12 degree low. That's the weather. If you want to comment on the weather in your part of Portugal or even the world, we're always very happy to hear from you. William Ogilvie doing just that. The weather here is terrible, wet and windy, but wishing everyone a lovely day. So feeling the effects of Barra there in Belfast, I think. Abu Mohammed also here. Bon dia, Carl Toros from Abu. Good morning to you. And Elra, of course, is here. Morning all. And Lude, an occasional name here. Bon dia. I'm operating at 97%. I was getting people to rate themselves, much like my oximeter readings of the past week. Is that a good oximeter reading, Doc?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything. I mean, you have a very narrow band of acceptable readings. Anything above sort of 96, 97 is fine. Anything below it, you start to look at why.
And am I making a real terrible layman mistake by thinking that more exercise puts more oxygen into the blood, and that's a way of boosting it?
More exercise is likely to boost it in the medium term, but actually, while you're exercising, it's likely to be lower, because if you're getting into the sort of anoxic type of exercise, then you or not anoxic, but I'm not going to spend ages trying to explain it. But if you exercise hard enough, your oxygen levels should go lower while you're exercising, but your ability to carry oxygen, if you repeatedly do that, will increase.
And the reason this is an important measure is this is your heart's effectiveness of oxygenating the blood. Is that right?
Well, it's more actually it's more going to be the lungs' effectiveness and the amount of hemoglobin that you carry. The heart won't really be affected in this particular domain of oxygenation of the body, but certainly if you've got chronic lung disease, then your average saturation is likely to be lower.
Okay, thank you for letting me ask these silly questions, because I mean we take these things for granted, don't we? I mean, a lot of people don't know why they're being prodded, poked, listened to, measured, and so on. And I think it's quite good to know. So thank you for that. Jim McDonald's here as well. Carl, Doc, and all the rest of you lovely gumpers. And on that note, let me play the intro music, because I know some people thinking that it's only news and weather in the first 30 minutes or us saying hello to each other. Scroll forward to this bit. So let's play it for them, and we'll see you on the other side of this, which gives Doc and I a chance to refresh ourselves, blow our noses, and do whatever else we do on the Feast of Conception very quickly. You've got about a minute to do that, Doc. Yes, indeed. It's the Good Morning Portugal live stream with me, Carl Munson, and right now on your screens in front of you, the visual delight that is Andy the Doc from Leiria, live from Leiria this morning. And somebody saying,
I don't think I've ever been called a visual delight before, but thank you.
a VD for sure, which is also good to see. And I didn't say it for that reason. I didn't, honestly. That just. And in a way, I wish I hadn't said it. Just realised that the Doc is not in the car today.
Yeah.
It's almost like we need you to get a plate and just have it in front of you so that we have that effect that we're used to. You've thrown us this morning, and lots of lovely hellos coming in. So yeah, seriously, ask anything about Portugal. One of the themes that came up and was being asked of us, and I feel a little bit disloyal to Portugal even mentioning it, but somebody said, how about places you can go to from Portugal? With Portugal's most excellent position as the California of Europe. You've got all of continental Europe to explore. How might you do that? By plane or by train or by car or by foot even? Camino, of course, you could do. And you can hop across the Atlantic, can't you? You can go south to Africa. So what have you, those of you who are more established here, or those of you who are looking forward to having a little bit of a contrast to help you realize how much you love Portugal, where are you thinking about going and how? And Doc, I know you love to travel, don't you? What sort of trips have you made out from Portugal, and what would you recommend?
Well, the only trips I've made out from Portugal so far, due to the exceptional circumstances we've been in, have been road trips back to the UK through Spain and France. And they are beautiful road trips, I have to say.
Yeah.
But coming back to the premise of the whole thing, so I think there's so much in Portugal. Why would you want to leave? That's my first reaction. But I think, after you've spent probably 20 years exhausting the possibilities in Portugal, including skiing in the Serra da Estrela, or the sort of almost subtropical beaches of the Algarve. Or even going to the Azores or Madeira, which is still Portugal, of course. When you exhausted those, then of course it depends what you like doing. So if you like road trips, you've got the whole of Spain, south of France, even Italy. You can get to Italy either driving over through the south of France, but not many people know that you can take a car ferry from Barcelona and go to Corsica and then across to southern Italy. So, you can quite nicely break your journey midway, having spent a day driving to Barcelona, get a ferry across, get some rest while you're doing that, and then drive around the south of Italy. And that then puts even Greece in range of a road trip, taking a ferry from the south of Italy to Greece. So there's a lot by road that you can do. Then, of course, by boat, there are cruises, or there were, and probably will be again, cruises that operate out of Portugal, out of, I think, Porto and Lisbon, and possibly Portimao, but I'm not sure. And trains, the train links are being much discussed now in terms of improving and replacing the rail links between Portugal and the rest of continental Europe, which probably puts most of Europe. And then, of course, you've got the aeroplanes, and it's a short hop to most of Western Europe, at very good rates if you use the cheap airlines. But yes, of course, well placed for a reasonable distance to Brazil or elsewhere in the Americas, or even to North Africa or further afield.
I think it's good to explore the trains. I really do. And goodness only knows what's going to happen with air travel and the cost thereof. It's become harder and harder, isn't it, for all sorts of reasons just recently to enjoy air travel. It is the quick and has been quite a cheap method of travel. Like going against all the, I was going to say going against all capitalistic principles, but it's not really, is it? Because it's actually the probably a great example of capitalism, isn't it? How you're not actually paying a real cost, or subsidies are being played with, and there is some malarkey going on with it, monetary malarkey that actually makes it not realistic, which will eventually catch up with us. And those times might be coming, mightn't they? Forcing us onto the railways.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't explored the economy of the sector. Obviously, they make money, and obviously that can't totally be due to subsidy. A lot of it's due to cheap oil and low or artificially low labour costs. People not being paid what they ought to be paid. But climate change is going to change rail travel. They're now starting to look at battery-powered mid-range aeroplanes. But the question is, how many people can they carry, and so the cost per person is likely to be higher. I think the future has to be in a proper, planned, public mass transport. And probably by train, and also potentially the re-establishment of boats, travel by sea as a mass transit option, but battery powered. There are battery powered boats being developed now, and the talk of mass transit by sea. The problem with that is, of course, that you have to give workers more holidays than capitalists want to give workers in order to enjoy those trips.
Not bad. It's 9:10, and that's the first political comment, I think. Pretty good.
Well, it's true, isn't it? But of course, we could have full employment if we gave everyone 8 or 12 weeks holiday a year.
Well, there was the thing. We may be kept busy with questions coming in, or we may go to the news. And I noticed there was a news item yesterday saying, some parts of the what would it be called? Country governance. Some commentators are saying that this new higher level minimum wage is not a good idea. I'd be interesting to see how they argue that. But in Portugal, of all places, you just don't want to be hearing that, do you? You just think, how on earth do these poor people make? Literally, how on earth do they survive? And why would an economist dare say that this could be harmful? Surely we should be looking at why it's harmful and dealing with that, rather than saying, okay, keep the wages down. Strange times, and I'm sure you'll have a lot to say on that. With Portugal trains. Look at this. I want to read this bit of copy because it's so good, from portugaltrains.com. Kissed by the bright sun, embraced by gentle ocean waves, and dotted with plenty of spectacular landmarks, miraculous Portugal. There you go. A theme this morning has already wooed the hearts of millions. So why not set off on an unforgettable journey and explore this many-sided region by rail, famous as the motherland of the great discoverers. So true. It's no surprise that Portugal boasts a well-developed train system spreading for 2,786 kilometers and interlinking all major tourist spots of the country. So I would commend to you a trip on the Alpha Pendula at least once, with maximum speeds of 220 kilometers per hour, or clicks, as I heard them referred to yesterday, kilometers, 137 miles per hour. And you barely know, whilst you're sipping on your Sagres or gin and tonic or whatever that you can get on the train, that it's rocketing around the country at those high speeds. And look at those lovely pictures to savor there. That's travel within the country, but as Doc says there, you can travel far beyond on that rail system. And I think there's always been talk about extending that. But I think the current situations will bring that on a little bit as well. More hellos coming in. Hello, bon dia, alegria from a sunny San Martino de Porto. It's a nice blue sky this morning, Cindy. The sky, this little bit of sky we share here in the bay. Elaine Godley, morning all from the Alentejo Algarve borders. That sounds exciting and interesting, doesn't it? And I thought while you were talking about battery-powered boats, Doc, that you have an excited government waiting for the boat to be delivered. And those are exciting moments, I'm sure, for governments when they have a major piece of infrastructure delivered or opened. And then they press the start button and the manufacturer says, oh, battery's not included, like being like Christmas in the 70s.
Yeah, get yourself down to Wharton to buy yourself a few packets of double A's. Yeah,
Are these double A's or triple A's? No, they're the slightly rarer D cell that are needed for this boat. Sorry, didn't we say that? Don't worry, it's only public money. Bon dia from unexpectedly sunny Porto. Cheers, Lonnie. Good morning to you. Our dear friend Lonnie in Porto. Our man in the north. There's an artificial tree in our lobby. That sounds like a 1980s sort of new wave goth track or something, doesn't it? There's an artificial tree. It could be an album title, that. Jeff Jackson's here. Bon dia, Alegria Gumpers from Jeff as well. And Gary Orgles is here too. Bon dia from the centre of Storm Barra. If you're in the centre, you're okay. The centre's fine, isn't it? And being miles away from it's fine. It's those edges you need to worry about. Bon dia, Carl from St. Catherine. Great to see you, Kate. Always a joy to see you. You left your coat here. Carl, hoje estudei português por uma hora, a whole hour.
Very good.
Well done, yeah. And a bon dia specifically for you there, Andy from Abu.
Bon dia, Abu.
Hey, Andy, how are you? Good to see you. And, sitting with us in the comfort of your home as well. He has got a house.
Hi, Victoria. Good to see you here. Sorry?
People might have been worried that you lived in your car. So
yeah, that Leona had kicked me out, but then of course she appeared. So maybe the landlord had kicked us out. No, we're fine. It's just the commitment to the school run for I don't know, whatever it is, 30, 35 weeks of the year. But today being a holiday, thankfully I managed to get up late and I'm sitting ensconced in my favourite chair.
and facing your bi-monthly responsibility with us, where you could be down the shopping centre taking advantage of your day off from the drive to school. So thank you for sharing it with us. Really appreciate it. And yes, sotting. I did translate that as sitting. Fat fingered that one, says Victoria. Not referring to either of us, I hasten to add. December the 8th in Portugal and the Catholic world is Immaculate Conception Day. Thank you, Lonnie, which celebrates the belief that Mary, Mother of Jesus, was preserved from original sin all of her life, which is a clue, isn't it, to the feelings that in the time that was created, that the sexual act that so many of us enjoy, let's face it, us human beings, was in some way...
Not least the prelates of the Catholic Church, I have to say.
Indeed. I mean, if not for the sexual act, none of us would be here, right? So mostly, we have to say, because other technologies are available. But clearly, the most enjoyable way of adding to the population is through the act that is being referred to here as a sinful or... an inappropriate act, and therein lies a whole load of hang-ups and difficulties for people that are associated with this, which we wouldn't want to inflict on anybody. I think. Am I right? Do we have agreement there, Doc?
Absolutely. I think we were told to go forth and multiply, and you can't do that without the sexual act. So there's an inherent conflict there.
There is
for those who know what they believe. I'm agnostic from a very Christian background. It has to be said. So, it's very difficult, that one.
And you mean religiously, not sexually agnostic?
Oh, definitely, religiously. Yeah, I know what I like sexually.
Good morning, Andrew from Quinta Essential. Never mind, it was on my end. Have you ever had someone come for a consultation and that be the diagnosis? Possibly. I don't know. There's a cream for that. Bon dia, everyone. Pedro Gomes, I think. Doesn't take much, does it? In my house, we always used artificial trees, says Elra, growing up in Portugal, I believe. Always the same for at least 40 years now. Oh, so any idea we had that the Portuguese like traditional real Christmas tree dragged home on Christmas Eve, ruined there by Elra, artificial all the way. Bon dia.
I think the absence of discarded trees by the rubbish bins or indeed by the side of the road in the couple of weeks after Christmas in Portugal is kind of a clue to the rarity of real trees actually in Portuguese life.
Yeah, but Doc, haven't they been replaced by the €5 Chinese shop one that's all broken and messed up?
yeah, but at least you can stick that in the cupboard until next year and then try and work out how it fits together.
Bon dia. What's up, Doc? From Now, I've got to ask you here, because there must have been quite a few patients who thought they were being funny when they came in and said, what's up, Doc? When they came in to see you. What other doctor jokes are standing jokes which you have to indulge as a GP sitting there and welcoming people?
Oh, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Doctor.
Doctor Who? No way! Really? Oh, come on, patience. You can do better than that. The short answer is both. Now I can't remember what he's referring to here. Well, that will come back to us. So James will probably tell us himself. Bon dia, heading southwestish today. San Martino de Porto, here we come. Oh, São Mecca de Porto by the amount of people heading this way. And I was thinking yesterday, what play on words can we have? Sometimes in the summer here, it's like San Martino de Puerto Rico here. I think we could probably do better than that. But I just realised, yes, thank you, Suze, for that. He's not in his motor. He has got a house. The Rebel Council have met. And Miguel Herón. There's been a little bit of political argy-bargy. It was inevitable, Doc, that I'm being overthrown by that rascal. He smiles in my face and we appear to get on well on camera. But behind the scenes, there was a moment where I disappeared. I crashed out technologically, and he just took over, really, as though he'd been waiting for that moment all his broadcasting career. And this talk of Miguel Herón, Presidente, is real. So, but apparently the Rebel Council said they've met and it's out, something about English breakfast. He's too fond of the English breakfast. But look at this. Doc Familio will now lead instead.
El Comandante.
I was wondering where to see nativity scenes, and they are live. Are there live nativities in some of the
on a roundabout near you?
But not live ones. That's the thing. I'd give a few hours to that, to dress up as Joseph for that. Obviously, I can't do any of the other roles in there with any integrity. Not a wise man or
a sheep.
Yeah, okay. That's going through the list. Okay, Munson. Okay, we've got. Oh no, Joseph's gone to the dock. You're a sheep. Well done. Go home and let your mother decide how to dress you up as a sheep for the nativity. Live nativities. I don't know. It sounds a bit like Hamburg, doesn't it? In Germany, in certain parts of the city. But I don't know. I don't know where there are live nativities at the moment. But the static ones that the doc is referring to on a roundabout near you, they're fantastic. They're everywhere. It's really lovely. With some interesting takes, modern takes on the matter, including this one, which you can buy in a shop in Nazaré. That's quite an interesting little nativity scene, isn't it? The Immaculate BW there. I like that one. So there you go, OLG. Oh, sorry, OLP. Let's see if we can find the answer to that for you before the end of the show today. Doc could be in the car with a green screen. Yes, I imagine the Tesla's got a green screen feature, isn't it? But maybe not BMWs, yeah. Why are all holy days called feasts? Because such days or periods generally originated in religious celebrations or ritual commemorations that usually included sacred community meals. Okay, just for the staff or for the whole population, I wonder.
Probably the whole population, weren't they? I mean, fantastic community events and something we ought to re-establish.
Absolutely, well said. Bon dia, but we feast every day. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
not in community.
Ah, well said. Well said. Yes, indeed.
Eating together is a very social and political, with a small p, act of sharing and looking after each other.
Yeah, and because even in the shopping mall, as you all know from Leiria Shopping, and I want your marks out of 10 for Leiria Shopping in just a moment, because we are rating the shopping malls of Portugal. They're very good, but they should have their own sort of pecking order as well. Even in a shopping mall, people are eating separately, aren't they? One family there, one family there. It takes shared food, doesn't it, to bring this phenomenon about that you're talking about?
Now, yes. So the closest I've seen to sort of commercial communal eating was actually in Germany at a fantastic place, which unfortunately is closed as a restaurant now, but it's a place called Kloster Eberbach, somewhere reasonably near Frankfurt, I think. My geography of Germany is pretty awful. But it was up in the mountains, and it was an old monastery, and they had this fantastic restaurant with long tables, so you were forced to sit with someone else, and there were only ever sort of 3 or 4 dishes on the menu, so the chances were you were eating the same thing as someone you didn't know who was sitting next to you, and that promoted conversation. It was fantastic, but we need to bring that back. These isolated, 4 to a table. What do you do when you've got a family of 5 and these bloody chairs don't move? They're welded to the table. You sit on the end of the table, stand at the end. Bonkers. Anyway, we need more proper communal sharing and eating, and the sort of bring and share kind of events. Actually, Speak are doing one next week, and we're doing mince pies. But bring and share are fantastic events.
Doc, what are you trying to do to people? You have the chance to do a bring and share, and you go and take mince pies to it. Are you trying to
because it has to be. We have to bring something from our country of origin, and it has to be something that you don't need cutlery to eat.
Okay, but I would still think people are not going to forget or forgive that the mince. I mean, you might as well take Brussels sprouts.
Mince pies are lovely. I don't know what you have against mince pies, Carl. In fact, we're going to do phyllo mince meat parcels.
Oh, okay. Now you're changing the game, and it's not going to be some sneaky meat in there because you're a vegetarian, right?
It's going to be proper homemade mince meat.
Okay, fair enough. I take it all back. Okay, Chris. Oh, bring and share. Lovely idea. You're absolutely right. And one of the many cults I've belonged to in my life, when we used to sit down to eat together, the custom was not like jumping on and grabbing your grub, but like you would say to your comrades at the table and your communitarians, what can I get you? There's the start of reaching out to people, isn't it? It's like it makes you think about other people, doesn't it, rather than just filling your own belly. Very good. Good call, Doc. Good morning, Carl, Andy, and everyone else. We're now in Portugal for a month. Well done, Chris, and able to watch this live for the first time. Yes, I need some sort of jingle for that. The only thing I've got is I did it in Portuguese, but this is for you, Chris. No, it's not. I haven't even got that at my disposal right now. So we'll just give you a nice round of applause.
Yes, for that. Absolutely.
Well, a thumbs up from the Doc. Afterwards, we'll go out exploring, starting with Caldash. No better place to start. Well done. Have a great day in Caldash, and make sure you pop to the bay as well. Give us a shout. Good morning, Jacqueline Branco. How are you? What are you up to this morning? I know you're up to some good work, especially at Christmas time, obviously, Jacqueline. What's going on? Hola, bom dia, Carl Doc. Tudo bem? Tudo bem? Good to see you. Contigo. Jersey P. Bom dia, alegria a todos from Amsterdam. Matty taking it easy and packing stuff and getting on his way to Portugal. Sorry I'm late, but I can't stay either. What? Have to leave to get my antigen test in 10 minutes. Did my 15 minutes memorize already today. Busy day there. All the best with all of those arrangements, Matty. My bank holiday comment was about Carl's history of assigning Portuguese holidays to professions. I see. Okay. Portuguese restaurateurs. That was embarrassing, wasn't it? That was one of my real ignoramus moments, and there are many of them, but that was particularly bad. The Portuguese Restoration Day. I thought it was to do with restaurateurs, Doc. Yeah, go on, laugh, go on.
It was the Battle of Alcobaça.
What was?
The restoration of Portuguese independence came about as a result of the Battle of Alcobaça.
I should have had you on that.
Sorry, Aljubarrota, not Alcobaça. Aljubarrota.
Yes.
Which is north of Alcobaça, and which led to the building of the monastery of Pattaya.
Incredible. Yes, called Battle, of course. And Aljubarrota, now famous for its small shopping centre. We will come back to shopping centres. But I mean, when you're standing at Aljubarrota, you have to really struggle, don't you, to summon up the sound of battle there, because it's quite an inoffensive little place.
It is a very inoffensive little place. I mean, you have to struggle to find a shop, let alone a shopping mall. You'll find a coffee shop, of course, but several, in fact.
Or we missed it. There's the other thing, because often in Portugal they don't make a big song and dance of the facilities or these visitor centres or whatever. So it may well be there, and it might have just been that me and the Doc missed that. But yeah, it wasn't the day of the restaurateurs. Although in my defense, I think there should be one. And I would gladly be the president, the honorary president of the first National Restaurateurs Day of Portugal, as a guest of honor, because there'd be some grub involved in there, and no mince pies or Brussels sprouts anywhere to be seen. Hopefully,
what have you got against mince pies? For goodness' sake!
I think Portuguese Restaurateurs Day is to be established permanently, no doubt under the new regime as well. Eusebio, they're going to be stealing my policies as well as taking over the show. Since you suggested it, you're forbidden to talk to Michael Heron, Doc. Oh, okay, here we go to the book. A quinta, a papa porco. We know who that is. A mama porca tem leitões. Todos querem mamar ao mesmo tempo. Os porcos adoram rebolar-se na lama. Okay, now this is what I want you to do with me, Doc. Which I suggested yesterday. Again, falling on deaf ears, but they might chip in this morning. We have a book here. This is the book that has been read from, A Quinta, which is very nice. Now, let's see how good our Portuguese is together, if I may put you on the spot like this. Doc, top line then, I'm going to go for filio and filia and ask you what tractor is. Just to make you... That's not fair, is it?
No idea.
Okay, I don't know either.
Massey Ferguson.
Is it Uma or Massey Ferguson? Though I'm going to go for
Must be
Yeah,
it's a very masculine thing, isn't it?
You would think so, wouldn't you? Okay, so then we've got. Do you want to do the next line? Because your friend, you have a famous wine
or Pato,
or Luis, as they are known in your house. Yeah, a gallo there, the cockerel, of course.
Vaca.
Coelho is the next one, and then there's Mama or Papa Porco there. What is Turkey? Peru, isn't it?
Peru.
Yeah, always confusing that, a leg of Peru. That looks more like a geographical feature than an animal, but a Peru. Then we've got a little sort of galinha there. Is that a little chick? Hen there. So, yeah. Galinha. And of course the
alfalfa, possibly,
or a cabbage, maybe lettuce, because the creatures, the duck certainly likes
cabbages here. The cabbages here don't tend to look like that,
do they? They're a bit more upright.
Long stalks and floppy leaves.
Yeah, and a sheep. I forget that now. We should know that, shouldn't we? With our joint love of cheese there, with the old sheep's milk. The cheese here in the mixture. We'll leave that hanging there for our mates who may wish to hazard a guess at what sheep is. Not even hazard a guess. Some of them actually might know the answer to that. Fantastic. Nice, leisurely. Ask anything about Portugal. Hump day today. Nobody asked anything about Portugal, but we did. Here's one. Do Townsend?
Do they?
Do they? Just look at Doc's balcony from the street, and you will see that.
No, Leiria is beautiful. The lighting in Leiria is just fantastic. We've got a tunnel of love in the Jardim Luís de Camões. We've got loads of fantastic street lighting. It's beautiful.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. And even in these somewhat compromised times, there is a firework article we might look at if we get round to it in the news. The fire, what are they called? The people who pyrotechnics specialists are up in arms because there's cancellation after cancellation. And if I may say so, I think some municipalities seem to be quite liking the idea of cancelling things because it saves a lot of work, doesn't it?
It's the power, as I said before in a slightly different context, the power that the pandemic has given to politicians is frightening, and their enjoyment and holding on to that power is worrying, at least frightening in some cases.
Yeah, and people will have their own will organise their own gatherings, I suspect, if it continues. A balance has to be struck here. This is an interesting point that we could discuss here. Some concern from Maxine. Just found out that my eccentric computer guy. Is there any other kind? So many So many computer guys are a little on the eccentric side, it has to be said, who visits clients like me, does not wear a mask and refuses to wear a mask. Should people, and I think the question probably there is, should people be obliged to wear a mask? Well, I think if he's visiting your house and that's your requirement, then certainly yes. I would say it's your realm, your dominion, and your rules apply there. And that's fair enough if he doesn't want to wear a mask, but not in your yard.
Well, if I were you, Maxine, I would run an extension cable outside your front door, stick the computer outside the front door, and tell him to work there.
And then give it a spray with white vinegar.
Absolutely.
A wipe down with the old white, not the brown vinegar, the white vinegar. When you get it back, there you go. That's that sorted. Maybe I would love to join you all, but I'm off to IKEA. Wow, Robert. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Listen to the show, go to IKEA. I'd probably go to IKEA as well. Hola minha peeps from Rebel Mama as well. Good morning, Khadija. How you doing? Porto are out of the Champions League. That's why he's at 50%. Got it. That's bad news coming in. Sorry, remember where you heard it first. We won't mention it again. Being more transmissible means that it will reach more people, then it could lead to far more deaths. If it is lethal, though, Pete, I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily lethal, is it?
That was my caveat right at the beginning of mentioning the possible benefits of increased transmissibility. There's a big caveat in terms of clinical severity, and we don't have the data on that yet. And I said that right at the beginning, Pete.
How long is that going to take?
Well, let's think. You've got the lag from transmissibility to from catching the virus to getting symptoms. Then you've got the lag from getting symptoms to getting severe disease. And then you've got the lag from how that translates to ultimately death rate. So you're looking, I think, at least 4 to 6 weeks before we start to get data on that.
Yeah, and just putting the other side of this, or another side, if we don't stop living like this, that's also going to lead to far more deaths, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of this single focus on one disease, I think already is leading to higher death rates in other conditions.
So someone we know has just been diagnosed with disseminated cancer.
What does that mean?
Widespread throughout the body.
Okay, which could have been picked up earlier.
Which might have been picked up earlier if the whole of the medical establishment wasn't focused on COVID, and if people were able to get appointments with their GPs when they couldn't earlier in the year. We have someone else, a family member who was unable to get either a hospital appointment, an urgent hospital appointment, an appointment with a GP, a response from 111 within a reasonable time. So we was just going to struggle on at home. And thankfully, because of my professional history, I was able to get him seen. But most people don't have that opportunity, and I hate having to do it. But when a family member is in need of help, then you do it. But
of course,
the idea that people can't do that and might end up dead as a result.
Yeah, so we've got to get the balance here, haven't we? Definitely, and soon, because this single focus on one of the many diseases facing humanity needs to be looked at in the biggest possible picture. And I think we need solid numbers, don't we? And I totally take your point. We need to. There's me being a bit gung ho by the sound of it, saying it's more transmissible, but sounding like it's less lethal. We don't need people like me saying stuff like that. We need proper scientific people saying, okay, if it's proven not to be lethal, this is a good sign, and we will return to a way of living that isn't making it look like this way of living is going to last forever. Because if we don't put a clear point in at which we return to some sort of normality, it's going to go on forever and ever, isn't it? With some new fear, some new number, some shifting goalpost, whatever.
Well, it'll be potentially added to our current or recent experience of the flu virus, where infection pandemics become frequent, and the surveillance people at the WHO have to decide what combination of flu viruses is in the annual flu vaccination. So there is the potential for this to be an ongoing situation. But yes, we have to manage it, and we have to manage it better. We have to not run our health services at full capacity all the time, so that when pandemic come along, we get totally screwed. You know, I remember back in the early 80s, and we're going to go back to politics here. Back in the early 80s, when Thatcher started closing hospital beds and trumpeted the fact that bed occupancy had gone from 65% to over 100% in some cases, because when people were on home leave and someone else went into their bed on a very temporary and urgent basis, you got over 100% occupancy in hospital beds. And this was trumpeted as a great success. What the hell do you then do when a pandemic comes along and you've already got maximum bed occupancy?
Fascinating.
But then all the bloody bean counters sit there. Oh God, we can't afford empty hospital beds.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you bloody well do it.
And we're feeling the effects of that now, aren't we? And the pandemic's being blamed rather than political choices.
And hospital beds now equals doctors, nurses, support staff, and all the rest of it.
Interesting
Civilized
stuff.
society maintains. Look, go right back, and we'll go to religion now. Go right back to the dreams of Pharaoh and Joseph interpreting them, and the advice that said, store up the grain in good times against the lean times. In other words, the stored grain isn't wasted. It's not wasted labor. It's sense.
Yes, indeed. I feel a song coming on. The Joseph the Musical, featuring Andy the Doc Thomson this morning. But you're absolutely right.
Politics of Joseph the Dream.
Yes, a slightly different treatment, which will be at the Labour Party conference as a fringe event next year. I do.
If I'm still a member.
Oh, yes, well said. I do feel that MPs are beginning to call out the Prime Minister. Sorry to be a bit UK-centric for a moment, but Dawn Butler, excuse me, for one, was ejected from the chamber a few weeks ago for listing the lies the opposition bench had told. We need more MPs like Dawn. Well said.
Yeah.
The US has classified Portugal as a very high-risk destination due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
Highest level of alert, and also has recommended that travel to the country be avoided. Well, thankfully, you can still make a call on it at the moment, by the sound of it. Thank you for that, Lonnie. Continued. I liked... okay, so this is the eccentric computer man. Can people like him tell their clients about their situation ahead of coming to fix computers and leaning over my shoulder? I am old and immunocompromised due to the it's not non-payment, is it? Not yet,
it's
anyway.
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but I suspect that's due to autocomplete.
It is, isn't it? Unless it's, of course, it's Tory policy there.
Well, yeah. If you don't pay, you get Hodgkin's.
Kent Essentia, every day we are engaged in a miracle which some don't even recognize: the blue sky, white clouds, green grass, which all reside in this beautiful creation of nature. Good point of order there, Kinta. Always good that somebody says that this life is beautiful, good, miraculous, and that there are blue skies and white clouds and green grass. Thank you for that. Very good, especially when me and Doc disappear into a political dark hole for a moment. Last night there were fireworks near us. Anyone else have this happen? That's probably someone getting married, isn't it? Or Porto, a non-Porto fan, possibly. Do you remember the Scottish MPs that resigned for travel? I don't. Capricorn 12 at Lonnie. US and UK policy is ludicrous considering the number of cases of Omicron they already have. Doesn't take much for the American government to get a little bit sensitive on these things, though, does it? Socio is clear today. Not sure if it will keep those. So northern Portugal, Socio, up there in the north. Thank you for that on-the-spot report. Talk of miracles reminded me of Sarah McLaughlin's Ordinary Miracles, which is a tune there, slightly different playlist to the one we're accustomed to from Capricorn 12. And I was just at Nazaré. Darn it. Oh, this is going back a bit, isn't it, into our conversation? But yes, Doc might see that today, and he might even do a video for us. You never know. Is Portugal at lockdown, says Amrit? No. Not complete lockdown, nothing like, just back at state of calamity restrictions there. Doc, if you're going to Nazaré today, here you go, please take videos in landscape for me of the waves. He's got a technical specification as well. Anything else? Any particular theme music you want with that?
This being while I drive, yeah.
Yeah, I'm flying out next week, so it looks like
I'll try.
He's gone to miss them there. We're going to do his best for us there. What else can he do? We've just decided to go to Nazaré now, thanks to that. Kaldosh can wait until tomorrow. So there you go. You're influencing the travel plans of people.
If you see a black BMW being driven reasonably erratically, then just give me a hoot.
Yeah, that's Doc's house. That is. Monty stumbled upon a fab little museum in Anadia yesterday. A fascinating curator, excellent free touring. Is that the wine museum there with the most amazing collection of corkscrews, Andy? Thank you for that. Nazaré will be... Oh, Anadia, do go to... Anadia is so often overlooked as a place to go. The Barrada region is incredible. So go there, you will be delighted. The Alianza Underground Museum is not far from there. Nazaré will be packed today when there is a rumor of a big wave or big waves. There is gridlock at Sitio. And Vitor is here. Good morning from Vitor. No need to shout, Vitor. Wonderful creatures, Peter. Seeing them in nature, living in nature, and not in a zoo sounds amazing. Where was that then? Victoria Benson, hiya, Pete. How are you? And previous comment, it was the Musée José Luciano de Castro. I think that is the wine museum there, isn't it? No, it's not. He was the first prime minister of the post revolution, wasn't it? Oh no, he was earlier than that. Can we have a further reference on that, Andy? But he was an important prime minister who had a home in Anadia. That is a lovely little museum. I've been there. And upstairs, incongruously, there's an incredible crystal collection, which is nothing to do with what the museum looks like it's to do with. There's just, it happens to be a fantastic shell as well. I think shell and crystal collection upstairs. Abu, a Doc question. I suffer from back pain, and about once a year I get muscle spasms, and I'd be bedridden for a couple of days. What to do for Abu there?
There's a question. Well, I mean, there are lots of ways to approach back pain from looking at unequal length legs, which actually has an effect on back pain. Flat feet has an effect on back pain. There's, you might have an inflammatory process going on. You might have disc problems. So there's a huge, people just think, oh, back pain. There's a huge and complex, potentially, assessment of back pain. So, but, so all of those things, then chiropractors are very helpful. So there are lots of potential, but you really have to go through a decent workup. It's not the sort of question I can answer.
It's very general, that, isn't it? And what it sounds like, looking at how Abu has put that, it's a regular event. So it would appear that what you've done so far is not dealing with that, and it might be good to get a different tangent on that of insight, which might help you. It might not mean that you have to go through that every year if you find the right insight into where it might be coming from.
I've got an answer to the Jose Luciano de Castro Pereira Corte Real question. Okay. So he was a Portuguese politician, statesman, and journalist who served 3 times as Prime Minister of Portugal. Born in 1834, 14th of December, died 9th of March 1914. He served 3 times as Prime Minister of Portugal, one of the founders of the Progressist Party, and he was head of the government during the pink map crisis, whatever that was. Hey, we want our maps pink, not red. And the subsequent 1890 British ultimatum, a crisis which was one of the factors that proved decisive in the fall of the Portuguese constitutional monarchy in 1910. So this was an ultimatum that by the British government delivered on the 11th of January 1890 to Portugal. The ultimatum forced the retreat of Portuguese military forces from areas which had been claimed by Portugal on the basis of historical discovery and recent exploration, but were the United Kingdom claimed on the basis of effective occupation. So this was land between Mozambique and Angola, including most of Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi.
Doc, I don't know how you remember all this stuff. It's incredible. So there he is, and that's the museum.
I was reading
it. There you go. There are scenes from which he would have coordinated those diplomatic battles from possibly that desk there. Beautiful place. And as usual, oh dear, that looks a bit grisly, didn't it? As usual, a great insight into more general Portuguese culture and history, as well as a focus on that particular individual. Intruder in the Museum, a fiction. So books have been written about it as well. I remember it, Andy. I popped in there. Really nice curator who encouraged me, who gladly did an English tour and encouraged me to speak Portuguese. No, beautiful. Look at it. And there's your marine collection upstairs. So there's vertebrates, marine vertebrates and all sorts, as well as the crystals there at the wonderful José Luciano de Castro Museum. One of those wonderful things. If you don't write it down now as somewhere to go, you'll be thinking to yourself, oh, what was that they were talking about on that Good Morning Portugal show? Anadia, the town to go to. Okay, loads of comments. Thank you, everybody, including Garvo's here, everyone. Garvo wishing you a good day there in his Brummy way. Howdy, Doc. That's not particularly Brummy. It's Texan, isn't it? I'm planning. So
you're right, mate.
You're right. Back to Abu. I'm planning to retire to Lisbon. What kind of service is available for someone as far as doctors and care? Is that for getting them or giving that, Abu? Let us know. Well,
lots of in Lisbon, plenty of care services, both medical and domestic care.
Yeah, and get yourself, I'm sure you'll find decent consultants to check your back out as well there, Abu. Good luck with that. Have a good one. Matty from Quinta Essential. Who are you, Quinta Essential? Do we know you? I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I'm not connecting with Portugal food yet. What? Had good luck with food in Galicia, although I prefer Portugal to that area. I look forward to travel to other parts. Well, you can't please all the people all of the time. And I do understand that with a certain palette of requirements, Portuguese food could be a little bit disappointing for you. But maybe we haven't exhausted every opportunity yet. And maybe it's something to do with the north as well. I don't know. Maybe it's just too much chicken gizzard and bean casserole or something like that up there. And of EU and Spain countries. So, EU countries and Spain. So you're looking forward to the travel that we were talking about earlier on for a little extension to the cuisine there. We will hear any kind of admission of that on the Feast of Conception. And I think you can consider yourself officially pardoned by the doc in residence this morning. Great. Thanks, Victoria. How are you? Be off. What's the best? Be off as stuff to build. He's got stuff to build. And William, thank you so much. I'll have to buy the doc a beer when I see him. Thank you very much for your super chat.
Friday.
Appreciate it. You know exactly what I mean there, Doc. We've wet his whistle already. See you Friday, mate. Yeah. The people's flag is deepest red, says Eusebia.
It's shrouded off, down martyred dead. And their limbs grew stiff and cold. Their life's blood dyed its every fold.
Get a room. Are you boat building, Pete? Making and creating. There's no better joy and satisfaction. I wonder, has Pete grown a big beard recently? Because he's got turkeys, at least 2 turkeys. He might be growing a big beard and building a boat, knowing something that we don't possibly there. Has anyone seen Pete recently? Can confirm that. Bon dia todos. I think the words you were looking for is anaerobic, aerobic. There you go. Doing my bonus video today with a couple of, yay! Growing old disgracefully with Coach Turner. Fantastic. I was going to guess.
Thank you, Ian. My memory post-stroke is not what it used to be, but yes, you're absolutely right.
There you go. So yeah, make sure you change that in the record, everybody, before you go off speaking to your own doctor about that. I would love to travel and explore all of Europe by train, says James Holly. So we've excited a few people about that. Weather update from Hertfordshire this morning in the UK. Post-storm, it's very strange, as it often is. It's the quiet after a storm as well as before it, isn't there, sometimes? Clear skies, but gusty. Gusty's a good word. Clearing leaves on the schedule. Well done. Bit of exercise there, squeezing it in at every available opportunity. Are the food shops or supermarkets open in San Martino de Porto Erite, or is everything closed? Oh, I don't know. You've got to get somewhere open to have a feast, haven't you? So I suspect that the Intermarché may well be open, probably on limited hours, and there's a convenience store in town, and I'm sure some of the restaurants will be open, because what better way to celebrate than go out to a cafe or restaurant, which Portuguese people, I'm sure, will be doing. We should spend more time on discovering the beautiful places around us. Thank you, Quinta, for another point of order. The discussion of whether or not the poor deserve a living wage is a normal discourse here in the US. Yeah, well, the discussion is one thing. I mean, give them the money is what I would say. Never mind about all the discussions. I read a book, got stuck on the meaning of Abraham opening the tent. Is that another Conception reference there? Capricorn 12. Doc, let's face it, you're a legend. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm so looking forward to meeting you on the Super Gumper roadshows that we have to set up in the future. I like how you're thinking there. Oh, the issue is not sex, but sex outside of marriage. My mistake. That's probably absolutely right, isn't it, Doc?
Well, maybe. I mean, it wasn't just that, was it? Because contraception basically said that the edict against contraception was that sex was to be reserved only for the purposes of procreation, even inside marriage. So you're only allowed to go and have a shag if you wanted another kid. You weren't allowed to do so otherwise. And of course, the Roman Catholic priests who did break those restrictions were also breaking the restrictions on marriage, because of course they had to be celibate, or at least after about 500 AD, I think it wasn't an initial prohibition on marriage. It was another crazy idea. And no, I'm sorry, but the Christian church is full of perversions that were introduced to control the masses and the clergy.
All right, there you go. Not controversial at all this morning. And looking at it another way, James, there must be a reason why the idea of making love is dirty as well, mustn't there? And I do think that the religious organisations have had something to do with that, because let's face it, it's the most beautiful thing, as well as it can be quite grubby and has been, you could argue, degraded. But not being openly able to discuss it or have intelligent conversations about it, I don't think contributes to the heights that we might achieve through love. I didn't expect to be saying this morning, by the way, but there is something magnificent and glorious about it all, which often gets overshadowed by the grubbiness and dirtiness that I think has been conditioned into us by certain organisations. Okay, you are a legend. My first time in Europe, flew to Glasgow, bus to London, Eurostar to Paris, explored France, Italy, and then back to London, Cotswolds, Stirling, and back to Glasgow. Eurail pass was a joy to have. What fun. And you must have met lots of people on that. You do meet people on trains, don't you? Or with anyone other than the opposite sex, or any purpose other way than for multiplying. Also the argument against contraception. Thanks. I should have read that before we went into all of that. Just received my first electric bill. Shocking. Is that a joke, Victoria? It's not a joke, actually. EDP do not joke, do they? There's nothing funny about EDP. I haven't even used the air. If you look at a plug in, if you walk past a socket in Portugal, EDP charge you a little bit, and it all adds up.
€5.
$5 each side. Oh, do they charge you to walk near a socket as well now? I think they do, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Look at it, walk at it, think about it.
Don't think about electricity because EDP will charge you for that as well.
No, the trick is go off grid, get solar, get micro wind, whatever way you can. It is bonkers. The other thing, of course, is that there are plenty of open electricity sockets in various places where you might go and drink coffee or shop. And so you could have, of course, carry a big battery in a backpack and plug it in to any available socket that you're not paying for.
Cheeky. Okay. Gemini, I've gone to the end of the comments now because, Doc, it's 3 minutes to 10. We've got to go. It is hump day after all. Yes. So €300 there. That's cheap compared to some. And yeah, this is a great word of warning that you might thank us for, but you'll probably ignore and end up having to learn the hard way. Everybody coming to Portugal, don't run your electric like central heating. Seriously, you will be shocked as Victoria and Gemini have been in this process. I think the only problem with Sex the Ancient had was a lack of antibiotics to cure STDs. I'm sure that was one of many. And yes, I bought. This is what the problem when you go to the end of the comments. Yes, I bought another 12 oranges. What is the question to that answer? So I'm going to go back the other way, and I'm going to go through these very quickly, so it doesn't.
What is a cure for constipation?
Or STDs. 12 oranges, please.
Oh yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Yes, okay. If you keep an orange between your knees, that's very good contraception as well. I understand. 12 oranges. I'd actually like to see that. That'd be skills. Pay the bills there. So Abraham opening the tent. Wow. Okay. Is there anywhere? Oh, there's a question, an AAP question. Is there anywhere in the Caldas, San Martin de Porto area where we can get secondhand books in English? We have. Yes, our house. Come get them. We have old ones to swap, Chris. In Caldas, there is a bookstore that sells English books. There is, yes.
It's a bit further north, but in the middle of the rear, there's an old English telephone box that functions as an exchange library.
Where's that?
In the middle of Leiria.
Okay, middle of Leiria. Look out for
in the Jardim Luís de Camões.
Yeah.
There is a telephone box stuffed full of books, and the rule is you bring a book and then you can take one out.
Take your pick. You could go to Leiria, to the Camões Gardens there, or you can come to Caldas, where there is an antiquarian bookshop, which I know had some English books, because I sent a picture of them to somebody, to Jeff, I think. Elra, if that's a Portuguese bill, EDP usually does an estimate. Yeah, they're estimating what you're going to end up paying anyway, of what you would be normal usage, and you could call them and give them your actual meter reading. Yeah, make sure it's not an estimate. Why people leave after obtaining a... Yes, it's a good question, and I did preface it. Lovely picture of you there, Wazikur Rahman. Yeah, it's a good question. And Doc did say after 20 years. You're allowed to go visiting other countries after 20 years. Good morning from Tamar. Oh, no, how do you do that? Stuck at home with 2 twisted ankles. Have you been skiing on the Serra de Estrela there, Maria? That sounds...
Just walking down the cobbles in the rain.
The Calzadas, gotcha. We're so sorry to hear that, and we send our love to you. There is a giant plastic nativity on a roundabout in Portugal. Of course there is. Morning, chaps. Thanks, Victoria. Jerry, my problem with nativity scenes is they always include the baby, whereas he didn't arrive until... Look, everyone's sticking the boot in this morning.
That was Mary's doll to get used to holding the baby after it arrived.
Very progressive. Very progressive. I never understood the tradition of cutting down a tree and watching it slowly die to celebrate. Okay, thank you for that as well. Interesting. We are lighting up Christmas in a way, aren't we? With a bit of levity here, even though some of this is a little on the critical and negative side. I think I may have to write highlighted in brown after my name. What does that mean? I wonder. What's that? I'm going to try it again. Highlighted in brown. I don't understand what you mean. Mop it didn't work. Still don't understand what you mean, Abu. Carl, you need a little Christmas on your set. Maybe decorate your Christmas food. Okay, you're right. I mean, so far I've got the old pipe cleaner combo that my boy made for me. I will do something with this with the green screen back here, and I might even set the kids on it. What a great idea. Thank you, OLP. Most things I read say to allow for high electric bill. Yes, cheers to those brave off-grid types. Absolutely. They'll be selling you electricity soon, though, don't worry. In the UK, Belgo restaurants have benches. Belgian beer and great fries can be very convivial later in the evening. Good call. Back to those old communal lunches there and dinners on Sundays at the market in Tabua. There are long tables with several different food providers serving wonderful frango fries and salad to hundreds of people at a time. One of my best experiences. There you go, Tabua. Great place to go. That, of course, is if they are still the same during current restrictions. Yes, it was lovely to be sat among local people and expats from around the world. The atmosphere, food and chat were beautiful, covering up the legend that is the Doc there. Sorry about that, Doc, but Fiona, that's brilliant. Has anyone had experience using Beatriz Godinho, the testing facility? We'll leave that hanging there. Put that on the forum as well.
They're very good in Luria. If they're the same everywhere, then they're very efficient.
Okay.
But I haven't used the one in Nazaré.
Okay, and tests come back in a round envelope, which is always good too. Bon dia from a showery Porto de Mosh as well. I wanted to call our dog Battaglia de Algibrota, but Maria didn't. That's a great name to shout in the pub. Andaka! Battaglia de Algibrota! Gonna have to go. I know we're all gonna have to go. The other child's prize giving will catch the recording. Oh, have a great time there. There is a very small Centro Comercial. That's the one I'm talking about. It is not a shopping mall. There is one in Battaglia, though, but still nothing like Leria shopping. So a good review there. Mince pies and Brussels sprouts. I'm on my way. You're weird. So weird. Trattor is tractor. There we go. We're learning so much. After our autographic record, we host a lot of C's, although my name had lost it way before. What does he mean? What does that mean?
Isn't that so? That's a reference to the accord with Brazil, and changing the spellings and Victor becoming Vitor.
There you go. That duck is looking up at the thunder. It is from the book there. The Algibrota Museum exhibition said it's well worth a visit. So as we thought, it's just well hidden. I was surprised to learn that Welsh archers were involved in the battle. Incredible. If you're tooling up for battle, get the Welsh over. Particularly good at that time.
You have to put it on hold for a few weeks while they come over on the boat, because it's a bit of a trip.
I'm sure people allowed for that in those days, didn't they? And they also had to make sure they weren't fighting the English at the time as well, didn't they? Have you got a break in your schedule? A break in your schedule against the English to go and fight in Portugal? Well, that sounds all right, Di. Let's get over there. There's lovely.
We can grab some Superboc while we're there.
Fabulous. What do the Portuguese do for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day? Celebrate.
Eat and drink.
That's right. And
eat and drink and play fireworks.
A quick fire now. We're into the quick fire. A little bit silly, possibly. Green chili. Is it allowed to buy ivermectin over the counter in Portugal? Vets, possibly. If not, our doctor, and I mean that, our doctors are allowed to use ivermectin for COVID patients, because in Holland, they are not allowed to. In Japan, they are. What's the ivermectin situation in Portugal, Doc?
I'm not sure. If they're not allowed to buy it in Holland, then they're probably not allowed. If doctors aren't allowed to use it in Holland, probably not allowed to use it anywhere in the EU due to the uniformity regulations. And I don't know whether you can buy it over the counter. Garvo is the ivermectin legend, so he might be able to tell us.
Yes, indeed. And thanks for getting us banned off YouTube for 12 years as well by even mentioning it. Thank you, Green Chili. Our first electric bill was really high, but it turned out to be an estimate. For the next several months, we paid nothing as we had a credit. There you go. That might be it. I hope so. No, it's only for 1 month. Ouch! Have the big issues of the day been sorted out? Which is better, Portugal versus Spain? I'm surprised you even have to ask, Peter, the unofficial ambassador of Castanheira de Pera and the creator of our wonderful video intro, of course, and outro, which will play soon, hopefully. And Anadia versus Caldash. Don't make me do that. My family doctor, or is it Dotor, who's a fantastic one, has about 1,700 patients on a small village. That sounds like a big caseload to me, Doc. Is that good or bad, 1,700?
1,700 used to be around the average when I went into practice, probably a little under the average. Personally, I ended up with 6,500, but there's a long story to that.
All right. I heard from Dr. Vernon Coleman, the grumpy old git. Prolonged mask use increases the risk of catching respiratory chemicals in the mask, blah, blah, blah. Would we wear a dirty nappy on our faces? That's taking it to a somewhat of an extreme.
Yeah.
But so you were able to make your point there, along with Dr. Vernon Coleman. He looks like he hasn't had a laugh for about 37 years, that guy. But he does make some interesting points. Do you think that IF vaccines become mandated, we should be given the option of vaccine, given us the option of inactivated virus vaccine instead of only mRNA? What would you say to that, Doc? You're not going to get a choice, are you? I don't think.
Well, you won't get a choice. No, that's not true. You might end up with a choice eventually when then there've been enough alternative vaccines developed. I think the difference between mRNA and inactivated live viruses is probably somewhat overplayed, but I've gone down that argument in previous episodes. But I think people should have the choice. If it increases the number of people who are vaccinated, I think that'll be a good thing. So yeah, I hope it happens.
What, you hope for a mandate?
No, I hope that people will get choice between the different type of vaccines.
Just checking, because that's kind of slipped past in the first part of that question. If they become mandated, well, I hope not, is my personal opinion on that, which people probably know. My Portugal question: Caldash intrigues me. Watch YouTube videos on it. Who can tell me their take on it as a place to live? I think we're out of time. I am so sorry. Doc, you've probably got things to do, haven't you? You were excused the school run today, which probably had you thinking, I can do X, Y, and Z. And we've blocked your whole morning up with Good Morning Portugal this morning.
Breakfast, Nazare, and that's it.
All right, that's good. All right, I think we should wind up now. I'm so sorry to everybody who probably made some very erudite comments, because you think about things, and then you write the comment, don't you? And we're getting towards the end of the show, so I suspect we've missed a few corkers this morning, but we can't stay here all day as much as some people would like us to, like Capricorn 12. But just a quick factoid, just say Luciano de Castro was the 38th, 43rd and 45th Prime Minister of Portugal, in case that comes up in the Christmas quiz, which Jerry is working on. It might do, it might not. I'm not trying to give anything away there or be a spoiler. Good orthopedic foam mattress, not one with springs, has helped my sciatica. We should include that. And a gluteal massage is recommended.
Like a good gluteal massage.
But make sure it doesn't lead to a feast of conception, everybody. We know how these things begin. 8:30 to 10, Monday to Friday are the fastest hours. It's true. It's we need scientists to measure this. Probably somebody from CERN to have a look at it. It goes by so quickly. Great show, great guests, great participants, great community to be part of. Love you guys. We'll leave it there. And I'm so sorry to anybody we didn't get to, including your lovely pictures, Anna Olsen in the Algarve. I'll put those on the screen just after, because they're so beautiful. Thank you to Anna and to everybody else who sends in photographs. We will get to them. Take great care. Talking of Peter Wilton Davies, this is his excellent outro for us. Doc, you've been a legend, of course, today. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Ciao, mate, and I'll see you Friday.
Ciao. Yes.